Story.
Hey, we should be live. How you doing, Al?
We're not going
I'm
to do
doing great. How you two doing?
Doing good. So this is the first time that we've tried to simulcast. We're simulcasting on the J Hood Comics channel and on Al's Facebook page. So I don't know if I need to run the animation, the video, because it's not just my show now.
run
Oh,
it.
it's your show. It's always been your show.
Yeah.
You've always been here, Mr. Torrance.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
After
That felt good.
yeah,
It's been a while since we've been able to do that.
Yeah,
I
scare
couldn't snug you over.
everybody away. So, how's your week?
Extremely busy. At work, we had some of our some reps from the Chinese factories we work with. Our main factory, we had their company in this week, so we were in a lot of meetings, did some whining and dining and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, it was a busy week. I had other things going on as well with Toastmasters and church and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to finally chip away at the end of this book though last night to get it wrapped up in time for the show today.
Oh, you mean the one had to take naps through?
Look, I'm an old man now. I'll take a nap at the drop of a hat. So I will fall asleep reading things I love. So don't take it personally.
Yeah, I did. I took it personally. These comic books that we read in I would say in 2 days. Okay, so what are we doing here, Captain? My captain, huh?
Yeah. Let's acknowledge our early bird guest. Gore Vidal was here bright and early. I'm not sure if he's still in the live chat or not, but so for our Facebook friends, if you got comments, please put them in the chat, and we'll see if they pop up here on StreamYard.
I've been busy this week. Yeah, youth rummage sale this today, and all the stuff that people have donated. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I was happy to just get this stuff out my house. And this morning, as I was checking people out, I'm like, yeah. You know, I told the guy working the cash register next to me, I said, you know, I like about that. He said, well, it's out my house. It's out my house. But yeah, been up since 6 o'clock this morning.
Have you been reading the comic books that we told you to read?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ish.
Okay, so let's kick it off then.
All right.
We decided to go back and read a storyline from certain comic books. So that's what I wanted to do, and then it became we're gonna vote, and we're gonna do a vote and see which comic book storyline we did. And before this, we did the Weapon X miniseries and Marvel Comics Presents. Hello works. So, and then the second time I won, and we got to do Captain America No More, which was one of the main storylines that brought me into comic books altogether. That was one of the ones I was like, oh, I got to get the next one. So I don't know how many years later. It's what, 40 years, almost 40 years?
Yeah, probably.
This is like 86, 87. So it's almost 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And a couple more years, I guess. Maybe 38 years to 30. So how many years ago it was? But I wanted to see if it held up and if I, what I noticed You know, what did we notice about it that was good, and what just if it held up. To me, it had a case of the exposition dumps. Like that was, to me, that was the only thing that I was like, oh man, come on. Like I wouldn't even I would read as much as I could, but as soon as I see him go, you know, last week or yesterday when so it was like basically it was the last episode this happened, which you got to remember they used to do that. They don't do that really anymore in comic books. Now it's just like, yeah, if you didn't get the last comic book, you're up the creek. You know,
Right.
In today's comics, a lot of times, especially on the Marvel side, they'll do like the one paragraph blurb of here's what happened last time, so that they don't have to actually acknowledge it in the story itself. But I think having gone back and read things like even like my personal favorites, like the Dark Phoenix saga and the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff, both of those are guilty of exactly the same thing.
Well, they had to do it. They had to do it.
Which is funny because when you think about it, that's kind of how the cartoon started off each week. With a little bit of Stan Lee giving us a recap of what happened previously.
Yeah, well, that's like the intro you can skip through. We can't skip through these. Well, you can. I did it. But to start, okay, so the story, the basic plot.
Before we get there, though, can we talk about my main man recapping Ralph?
Ralph
Macchio? Not
Macchio?
telling me that Ralph Macchio worked for Marvel.
Well, you know, in between being the best there is, the best there, best around, and the Karate Kid, he also was the editor at, Marvel.
I mean, is that not true?
No, that's not the same. Different guy. I don't even know how to pronounce the real guy's name, right?
I mean, Nick Cannon was vice president of Nickelodeon at like 22. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But also, we're going to be doing a lot of names. I'm going to be saying a lot of names that I don't know if they're the correct way to say them. Like, how do we say John Byrne? Is it John Byrne, Brian?
It's Byrne.
Byrne. Okay, so what about Kieron Dwyer?
That sounds right.
Okay. What about Mark Gruenwald?
I've heard it Gruenwald, but
Gruenwald. I'll just say Gruenwald because that's what I meant.
R in there. I give him Gruenwald.
So
hey, Tom Morgan.
Tom Morgan. Hey, early Tom Morgan. Okay, so anyways, let's okay. So the storyline is that.
But part of the history lesson here is Mark Gruenwald is essentially the Chris Claremont of Captain America, where he wrote the series for years and years and years, and through highs and lows. Some of it was great and highly respected, and everybody looks back and loves it. And then there's other stuff where we look back and we kind of laugh at it. But he was there for a long time, was very, very highly respected by people in the industry, especially in Marvel, and unfortunately died at a relatively young age, just after he finished his run on Captain America.
Oh, really?
Well, he was on Cap for years.
Yeah,
he was on Cap for years. I think. Okay, this is what this storyline showed me is he would have been the books that came after would have been his storylines would have been more pumped up if the art was good. Okay, so like this whole storyline could have been hit or miss if it would have kept like with it if Kieron Dwyer didn't come onto this book, if he wasn't brought onto this book, I think my interest wouldn't have been as great because I think we see an elevation, we see an evolution of Kieron Dwyer, the artist that took over after 3 or 4 books from Tom Morgan, who's good on the. I actually like Tom Morgan. He kind of had almost like a bulky Steranko Kirby kind of weird mashup type of. He drew noses like they're just mushed. They're just like you can tell Captain America got punched a couple times in that face. But the storyline itself, of course, is Steve Rogers is told by a government commission, that either he becomes their super soldier, basically their RoboCop, They're guys that goes out on the field and does what they want to do, or he can't be Captain America anymore. Okay. So that's the first book. They bring him in. He goes into because there's another thing about this miniseries that I think I need to apologize for. Is that you do have to do pre-reading, because there's a lot of stuff in this book, the storyline. It's like, wait a minute, when did this happen? Like, in issue number 298, or issue this, and this. So,
the one I got, it actually threw in extra issues of comics.
Yeah,
I'm trying to pull up the online version of this. I just found it. But leading up to it, we've got Demolition Man D-Man, who's one of the key kind of other characters in the storyline. It's like it was the issues leading up to this that brought him into the fold.
Yeah, so you do have to do some pre-reading on this.
Good morning, John's Comics with Kids.
And what's a nomad? What are these guys? We'll get there.
Okay, so the basic storyline: Steve Rogers is told by a commission of the government, the commission on the superhero activities or whatever. Yeah, there you go. Hey, either you're going to do what we want you to do, or you're not going to do it at all. And him being free loving, he's like, well, do I do this? It was cool because he was like, well, give me 24 hours and I'll give you my answer, So he went home and he talked to his friends. He was like, he's getting all the information. I dug that. I thought that him like mulling it over and not just being like, well, this also talks to Steve Rogers' character, where he's like, hey, I'm not just going to rush into this stuff. I'm going to do this. That's one thing I'll talk about this storyline, is it actually has, that's what I like about it. I know you're going to fall asleep during the books here, Jamie, but Steve Rogers actually has a story arc. He actually grows in between the pages of this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, he goes home and he's like, talks to his friends. And then at the end of the book, shocker, he basically tells him, he's like, no, can't do it, buddy. That doesn't work for me. And he just gives back the shield and everything. Like there. That's cool. I like that. That's by Tom Morgan. Tom Morgan is the artist on this issue. And he's
he didn't give back the shield. They took it back.
No, there he is. He's giving it back there.
Because when he tried to leave, that's ours. Back to us. Because that was the whole thing. The whole Captain America thing was the government's. The uniform and everything, that's the government's. That's ours to do with what we want to do with it. And
because
you were ours because you signed
a
contract with the military. It seems like this doesn't sound right. Because they basically want to, I have no doubt they just wanted them to start assassinating people. But
yeah, well, as we go on in the storyline, you see what happened. This storyline could have went so many different ways, but it being comic books, what ends up happening. Like, oh, it's going to be a supervillain. Type of thing.
Let's interrupt the kind of the recap of the storyline first to shout out the members of the chat that have joined us. I mentioned Matthew and John. Chicago Schultze is here from Chicago. Captain Comics is here. Magic Lasso is here for the Chris Evans, which kind of I wanted to mention. This really does tie into what they did with the Falcon and Winter Soldier streaming show on Disney.
It does. It really does.
And I think that show, to some extent, having not ever read the storyline before seeing that kind of set up some expectations, but we all know that what we see in the comics is never going to show exactly as it is supposed to on screen. So it gave me, I don't want to say expectation bias, but things didn't actually kind of happen in the storyline the way I expected them to. Whether that's good or not or bad, I just wanted to make.
Are you talking the show or the comic book?
No, in the comic book.
Okay. Well, I think, I think the show kind of should have took more from the comic book.
I totally agree.
because I think what they did with the show is, well, as they do a lot, is they neuter characters that could be great. They could just be on their own, could be crazy, you know.
Yep.
But you know, that's the show. I want to talk comic books, baby.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Whatever that entity is, it's that entity. You know, I wish they would have done more. Okay, as we get into it, just take Sam Wilson in the show and they dropped him into the Steve Rogers role, but give him more of this. Like have him, I guess it did actually, because he didn't want to confront them to be Captain America. He wasn't ready to stand up to be Captain America until about the end. And it's like, all right, I'll be Cap, you know. But as this goes, as we're talking about this, okay, so Steve Rogers says, hey, I can't be Cap anymore. I can't do what you want me to do. I'm not going to, you know, go in there and beat up little old kids, you know, and chase after mutants, because this is during the Mutant Registration Act, which is, that's, you know, and they had the, like a bunch of the mutant resistance. Yeah, they had to fight them.
There's like the mutant fear was prevalent. The government was making a point. They'd started Freedom Force to go out and round up unregistered mutants.
Yeah, Freedom Force was basically the old Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, like Blob, Pyro, Avalanche, Mystique was in there. Oh, they were all working for the government.
I thought it was really interesting in the fact that Marvel, you know, kind of stuck to their guns on that and did acknowledge what was happening from one title to another and actually introducing that as plot points.
Yeah, almost too much, I thought, because I'd be in the middle of like, hey, this storyline's, you know, what, I can't wait to get to the next book, because I was reading digitally too, because all mine are in a book, in a short box somewhere. And then I would go to the next one. It would be Iron Man number 239 or something. Yeah. And anyway, but look at this. We're looking at these Mike Zeck beauty covers, man. I'm telling you, Mike Zeck was popping. I know, like the last show we did where it was a versus thing, I think. And Mike Zeck didn't get no love. And they said he was overrated. But Mike Zeck, come on, look at that. That's beautiful. I mean, the previous one with Cap No More, and then this one, this is great. I mean, he does some other ones in the line that, you know, they're like, that's cool. But this one, I bought this off the shelf, off the rack back when in 87? I remember this one. I had this one, and then I had the Avengers 4 redo with where he's in the black suit, you know. It's classic to me. So like that's nostalgia at its best. So maybe I'm biased when it comes to the storyline, because this was the first like real, like I gotta get them. I gotta Pokemon these things. I gotta catch them all, you know.
So one of the things that was happening while Steve Rogers was kind of figuring out what he was going to do, we had this new super soldier dude kind of pop up out of nowhere and take care of Captain America's business for him.
With his agent?
Yeah, with it.
That's another, so John Walker, who becomes a U.S. agent, he becomes Captain America, he takes over, but way I look at the storyline, I'm thinking that Mark Gruenwald might have been like, hey, heroes now, the anti-hero was coming in huge, was like Punisher and stuff like that at this time. Everybody was like, oh, you gotta be gruff, you gotta be dark, you gotta be, you know, gritty. And I look at it as kind of like the handoff from John Wayne to like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know. You kind of got the hero, the role model. You could kind of look at, well, I don't know about John Wayne. I guess you could. I don't know if he's really. There had to be some in between heroes. I'm not going to say Charles Bronson because he was the most violent. He would just kill people, you know. So I don't know, Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds. I don't know. It was in between John Wayne and Arnold Schwarzenegger. There was a whole bunch, and you can't include Sylvester Stallone, right?
There you go.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, because John Walker was not Clint Eastwood. He wasn't Clint Eastwood. There's no way he was.
I was a bit confused by John Walker's kind of personality and his take in this, because at first it started out as, you know, I think I can outdo Captain America, and then he becomes Captain America. Then he's like very respectful of Captain America.
Yeah. Well, that's any job.
He had to wear the crown. He had the crown. He understood.
Yeah, exactly. That's any job. Like you go into a job and you're like, when I work where I work, I'm like, I see people and it's like, man, they're flaking off. They're not doing anything. And then you get into that position, you're like, oh, now I see why they were doing that. So when they get Walker to take over for Cap, they have him watching videos of Steve Rogers and how he's just like, ooh, dang, man, that dude could cook, you know, that guy was going. And I like that. I think this is really like we should appreciate our old heroes type of storyline. It's just like, hey, you might like Punisher, or you might like this guy, but man, you got to respect what the original Cap was all about. And I think this was like us trying to find love for Captain America as well. Because what's the old saying? I can't miss you if you don't go away. Yeah. So they had to take it away for us to appreciate it.
Yeah, and like you're talking about, you see he goes through a whole lot of training just to even use the shield.
And that's what I liked about this too, is that it showed that the experience that Steve Rogers had over the shield, the control he had over the shield. Like Walker is like throwing it and it's not coming back, so he's like, well, I gotta, you know, so he gets messed up just trying to get the shield back. I like that whole little I call it Easter eggs almost, you know, like stuff you don't really think about because you take stuff for granted. This is what the story is about, is taking stuff for granted. You don't know what you got until it's gone. And I kind of respected John Walker because at first because he started to appreciate stuff, and he also, when he was sent to infiltrate the Watchdog stuff, he was kind of like, wait a minute, their values are my values. Well, this is kind of weird, even though they're extremists, you know. So that kind of shows that as even us as people, when we don't agree with certain things, we do have stuff we can agree on. And then, you might be like me, but you're also real crazy and attacking people in the subway or something, you know. It shows the extremes. I think this is a lot. This reminds me, I know it's weird, it kind of reminds me of RoboCop and like Judge Dredd type stuff, where it's like you're looking at like, hey, Cap doesn't use guns, Cap doesn't do this. And then you bring in like, okay, this is what you asked for. And then you get it and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. So this is another Mike Zeck cover where they bring in. Now, here's the thing. I don't understand. I get it, but I don't understand why they had to bring in a Bucky. It was like.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. And I think they're really kind of making fun of themselves to a certain extent by having Bucky actually even be taller than Captain America.
What's up, Vic?
Captain America needs somebody to subjugate, to hold down, to be under him.
And, dang. That's raw, man.
I mean, he had 3 other white dudes he could choose from, but the black guy passed the background test. Never happens in real life. I'm just saying. Oh
boy, yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so yeah, John Walker had like 4 dudes, he had 4 guys. He had his agent, which that's something different because that's kind of like a Booster Gold thing where he was more like trying to build it. It's like it's so today where you're trying to build your popularity up but this is like, so this is kind of ahead of its time when it comes to comic books. And it's kind of overlooked because it's in a Captain America storyline. So John Walker and his buddies were trying to get famous for being superheroes. So they had an agent that was like booking stuff for them.
Well, I'll think of it like when you're talking about the TV show. Remember how Sam Wilson, he had no money, you know, he didn't have any credit or anything. This guy's they got an agent that said, "Oh, here's something. Go handle this. We'll get you famous. We'll get you some endorsements. We'll get some cash in your pocket, and I'll get 10%."
Yeah, it was like trying to. I think it was ahead of its time. I think there was something that they could have done. I mean, like I said, Booster Gold was like he was trying to get popular by, just doing advertising and stuff. Superheroes that advertise, maybe do commercials. I don't know if they were doing that before the 80s, especially because that's very 80s also. So, yeah, but the Bucky stuff, which we find out, which isn't in the best light, I wonder if they found out that the term Buck was racist before they wrote this, or if they were like, someone went, "Hey, that's racist," and they were like, "Oh, it's,"
We got give another.
Oh, we get to go there now. Here's my question: were all these social justice warriors and these people complaining about social justice warriors back when this actually happened? Because Marvel became very woke all of a sudden. Oh, we can't go about Bucky anymore. Man, that's stupid. Anybody call him? We're worried about that. No, we're gonna call him. What was it? Something goofy.
Battlestar. He became Battlestar.
but yeah, we're all those people who complain about everything becoming black and changing things just because we were woke all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is back in the 80s when they did that. So I don't know if it was pre-planned or if it's something they were like, because it did happen. Like it happened down the line, but I don't know if I think it might have been pre-planned. Thank goodness, because the suit does not work on grown people. The suit never worked. I've never liked Bucky, the character or the outfit. Okay, I've never done it. So
I'm gonna take this particular page to pick on Tom Morgan a little bit. Look, I've never drawn a full comic book for Marvel Comics before. So my hat's off to him for being able to make a career, make a living from his art. But man, look, getting through the early part of this storyline took a lot of forgiving of some really inconsistent art. There were some pages that were okay, and then there were some that were pretty rotten.
What's up with the Robin Hood boots, though?
So they have them, man. That's the pirate boots. They've had them.
What they bring? I just don't think they bring anything to the table.
It's a superhero thing. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
My wife says I'm her.
Like, so, yeah. Hey, man, I'm not dissing Tom Morgan. I don't know what he came back and did Iron Man later, which I was. It's all because of the '90s style. That
playing his reverse crotch.
I'm not trying to tear the guy down. So, Tom Morgan, it didn't bother me as much now because I was used to it. I guess I got used to
it. I think more than just picking on a particular page like this, that I thought was throughout it was really inconsistent, and I would have to think some of it was due to deadlines and things like that.
Well, also Captain America wasn't like their top seller, so they're like. Captain America had so many different artists throughout since Kirby took off and Steranko. I mean, you had just to fill it in, just Dave Hooper at the end of the run. That's one of my bigger guys of like, ee. So, and I've been collecting. I started going after all the caps, so I'm trying to fill it from 100 to like 450 or whatever the before Heroes Returns, right, or Reborn or whatever the hell Rob Liefeld did. I'm trying to fill that up, and I'm getting pretty close. So
at the end, that was the Mark Waid and
Garney and Mark Waid. So that was but they only did a couple until they came back. Right. But yeah, they brought in Taskmaster, which I thought was cool to train to train John Walker in how to be Captain America's shield or use his shield. So we're not going to do issue to issue. We should probably just talk the whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just about to mention that. I mean, I looking back, if you were reading this kind of live in the day, like you were from issue to issue off the rack, I think it would have read just fine from issue to issue, because you're following the story of a brand new guy coming in as Captain America. He has to be trained up, but they took like 3 or 4 issues to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went through a series of kind of battling bad guys that were new. They were groups. They were kind of unfamiliar, like these guys right here.
Dogs. The Guardsmen were those are like Iron Man stuff. So those appeared in the Iron Man books a while back. So that's one thing about the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and then some of the 90s, 60s. They actually, the continuity was there. They kept stuff. They would like, hey, this happened back in 65, but we're letting you remember. If you remember it, good on you. Nowadays, they just rewrite it as it goes, so it doesn't matter. But they would bring up,
these dudes. Yeah,
the Watchdogs. Here's the thing. I'm not knocking the suits. I think some of these suits are cool. This is one thing I'll say about this storyline. You might hate it or whatever, find it boring, but it's comic books to me, man. This is pure superhero comics, And if I know you like your detective stories and stuff like that. That's good. We all like what we like. But this is just beat them up. And then keep it going. Keep the action going.
Yeah, it's action packed. I will give you that.
It was.
When it's not a lot of writing, which it's a lot of writing.
If they're not talking, they're fighting.
Right. Exactly.
It keeps moving though. That's the thing. It's like in between. It's just like, oh, why have I given up being Cap? Was it the right decision? And then the next thing is like, hey, let's go save the day. Okay, then they save the day, and then they go back to going, man, the governments, they're really messing with me, type of thing. It kept it going. Each book, like I said, a lot of exposition, a lot of previously on the episodes, but then I was beaming through those. I knew what was happening, so I was like, oh, I don't have to read this.
Getting real quick, getting back to my point about inconsistent art. This is the same artist and inker that had been doing it the whole way. And then one month they woke up and they took their Jack Kirby pill. And now they're drawing stuff like Jack Kirby.
Yeah. With the squigglies. Yeah, I've seen the squigglies in there. That might just have been like, hey, can we,
I mean, it happened kind of all at once, and it came and went with just this one issue.
I don't know. You just ripping on Tom, I guess. I don't know.
But the next issue, they get a new editor, right?
Do they?
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio takes over the next issue.
Does he? All I know is that they give a couple issues for you to get and like start knowing John Walker and Lamar, and the new Cap and Battlestar. I'm not gonna call him Bucky because it's just horrible.
Oh, of course you would. They could at least explain why it was such a negative connotation with Bucky.
They do.
No, they don't. They just have.
He's like, hey, a guy came up to me and said that's not a good name.
Yeah,
so I changed.
That's what they say. The old black guy tells the young black guy it's not a good name.
He wasn't old. He was a guardsman. So he couldn't be old. He wasn't an old dude. He wasn't going, hey, man, what are you doing? He was just like, hey, it's nice to see that there's more like black superheroes out there, but that gimmick's not any good,
I mean, and by the way, did we need 3 stories in that one issue?
Well, yeah, they were kind of like doing it was an A, a B, and C. You got the A, B, and C stories. That's what most like sitcoms do. Or shows. You have your A story, which is either going to be Steve Rogers or it's going to be John Walker, or it's throw that in. You got it, and then you start getting into. Here's the thing. You knew if you looked at, I think one of these issues when Steve Rogers comes back and he's having a dream, they give away the ending. Like when's the first time he comes back? He's having a dream and he's fighting this big muscle corporate guy, right? And he rips the face off of him, and it's Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan goes, "What'd you expect? The Red Skull? It's right there." And then he rips that face off, and it's him. It's Steve Rogers.
Which also gives away the ending. Spoiler.
Yes. It gives it. So they were like, hey, this is the ending. You can continue to. I thought the whole thing was fun. I think it does. There was a character arc for Steve Rogers. He didn't end the same way he began, and I appreciated that. I actually understood Steve Rogers more now reading it, because I think also because the movies kind of showed me it's like, oh, this is Cap's personality. And I could kind of see that there. And John Walker was understandable. They kind of went from 0 to 60 real quick, but again, his parents got murdered in front of him. Okay, so what happens is his buddy.
Hold on. I just want to mention, I think it was pretty interesting and brave of Marvel. And again, this is going back to like if I were reading it like you were for month to month, where once Steve Rogers was out of the picture, they didn't bring him back they didn't even mention him for 3 or 4 issues. Like for the reader at the time, it was here's the new Captain America.
Right. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then when he came back, he had a beard.
Wasn't Steve Rogers kind of rogue? Wasn't he going against the government by, saving people or whatnot? Was he considered a vigilante?
Well, his whole thing, this is what I thought was interesting about Steve Rogers, is that the whole time he's doing this, he's like, I don't want to he didn't get a lawyer. He didn't do all this because he didn't want to put the government in a bad light. He doesn't want to take away from, he doesn't want to stir anything, but he still feels the need. And this is what the story is. He has it in him. It's in him. And it's not just being Captain America. It's Steve Rogers that's heroic. It's the man and not the myth,
Steve Rogers is kind of above the law in his mind.
Well, no, because he kept giving himself up. He kept going, no, they're going to arrest me, and I'm going to stay in here until they're like,
he was the only one that knew what right from wrong was.
Yeah.
Well, that knew what was best.
Well, no, he was unsure of himself.
See, that's what I'm saying. Even with Iron Man, or am I getting too far ahead of things?
Well, I don't think so. We're all over the place.
Iron Man, he's just like, you're wrong, you're stupid. Iron Man's like, no, you trust the government like a dummy. This is what's really going to happen. And he's just like, I'm going to arrest you and take you in. Look.
Well, here's the thing. It's with Rogers. It was kind of like, I'm only going to do this. I'm not willing to cross this line. And that's why he's the hero. Okay. So where Walker is crossing these lines because he doesn't have the maturity. This talks about being a man or being a responsible human being. And just because he's like, hey, you should be doing what I'm doing to Iron Man. Iron Man was hurting. He was mad because he was hurting the people. He was going in there. And he was the power outage let the villains escape. So he was like, that's what I was talking about. I don't care if you're like going after and doing this, and this, but you got to think about the innocent people. That's what he was thinking about. He wasn't thinking about, oh, you're against the government. He was more like, hey, buddy, you're messing with the man. You're messing with humans. You're messing with the people you're supposed to protect. And that's what Steve Rogers was about. It's not about like, oh, I'm doing the same thing, but you shouldn't type of thing.
Well, that's kind of how I read it, but I understand what you're saying, though.
But yeah, well, also we're sitting there going, "Oh, I don't want to read this. I don't."
Well,
But I guess I take a different.
The first half.
I mean, there are things that turned me off about this along the way, and part of it was Nomad.
Well,
Nomad was Nomad was the guy. Okay, so if these guys are like if these are like the Spock and McCoy guys, Nomad's definitely a McCoy, and he's the misogynistic. You want to punch that dude. He's the devil on the shoulder of Steve Rogers, whereas Falcon is the angel,
and D-Man.
And then D-Man's just like us going, well, what? You know,
I kept going to call him. There's a character in the Boondocks called a pimp named Slickback. I kept wanting to call him a pimp named Nomad because dude, she is not your property.
Yeah, he's straight up just. I don't know if Mark Gruenwald liked Nomad. I don't know who created Jack Monroe he was in the 50s. He was actually the
What
Bucky.
What does Nomad do, by the way?
Huh?
What does Nomad do? What's his powers?
He's basically a grown-up Bucky. He was Bucky. He was the replacement Captain America's Bucky, and he has he has cat powers too. He's got the super soldiers, but the super soldier power serum that they used on him made them go crazy until they reversed it or something. So yeah, he's basically like a Captain America, but he's an a-hole.
Well, here's my question: with all these people getting all these super serum powers, is it super serum? Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, sure. Super serum.
Nobody ever thought that I can't remember Black Captain America's name. The first Captain America.
The one from The Truth?
Yeah.
That wasn't written until years later after this.
Yeah, that came out.
I thought that they'd be testing this stuff out on black people before they tested it out on white people first.
Look,
especially Mr. Woke Stanley involved or whoever it was.
We don't want to get caught up in the reality of what actually happened.
They changed his name from Bucky to Battlestar.
Well, that's the age. Well, wait a minute. Anyways, we're talking about Monroe. We're talking about Nomad. So I looked at it as that there was different people. That was his consciences, his conscience telling him you shouldn't do this, you should do that, you should be against them, you should beat them up. I think the Falcon was the most tempered guy. He was kind of like, hey, you should be fighting this, but go to a lawyer, They could,
because he knows how the man works.
I mean, I can understand how part of this storyline couldn't have worked without D-Man and Bucky and the whole kind of group of
commandos,
sidekicks, I guess. But man, I wish they'd have found a way to do it without all the sidekicks. I got no problem with the Falcon, but the rest of them, to me, did nothing to contribute to the story.
I think it's wrong. I think that rereading it adds flavor to. It's like the side dishes. Like if you just want your steak, eat your steak. You know what I mean? If you want some salad, you got it on there. You got some cottage cheese or whatever. You got you got your rolls and stuff like that. This is several meals in one, man.
I didn't mind all the stuff going on with the bad guys here, the Serpent Society, and they had their own kind of little storyline going on.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what it would do. It would give you like 3 issues of like a battle, and then during that they would be talking about stuff. The Serpent Society was pretty cool.
Look, we got the gang down here in their van.
It's a road trip story, man. It's him trying to find himself, and then okay. So this is what you're gonna do, Jamie. You're gonna be like, you're gonna get fired from your job, and you're gonna be like, man, like I'm just gonna sit at home and not be around anybody This dude, his friends found him, and that shows you what type of man that Steve Rogers is that his friends cared enough about him to find him. And the jealousy between Nomad and D-Man, because Nomad, I don't know, you'd have to go back and read the issues. Did Cap just go, hey, bro, I don't want you to be my partner, and then he went and he got D-Man or something. D-Man's, that's just, he's an oath. Whatever. He's a
like him being a wrestler and all.
I mean, the thing is, they didn't write him as an oaf. And that's kind of even, I was like waiting for those moments to happen where it's like, this guy can't be as intelligent as he sounds, right? But he came off as just a straight character.
Well, I didn't mean he was us. That's what I was saying. He was us learning the ins and outs of things. Just like the Vagabond character. My favorite part of that is when Captain America, Steve Rogers, he's like, hey, I don't know you, so I don't know what you can do. So just stay out here in the car, Just like don't come in here.
I always gave her the stay in the car treatment.
Yeah, like he just was like, can you fight? I don't know if you can fight. And that's why I like the Nomad part, is because he's showing up with some biker babe, and he's like, yeah, I'm cool. And it's like, no, man, you're just the misogynistic, he's. If you look at this as like an 80s movie, there was always that like basically he's the Wolverine guy, or it's just like, shut up, you dizzy dame or something, but stuff that they won't do with Wolverine anymore,
But the Vagabond is she's always having D-Man teacher moves, and Nomad's like, hey, what's doing my woman?
Hey, this is my woman. What are you doing? And just like,
my woman pinned underneath you. I just asked her, can she do 250 pounds?
Yeah.
And then the best part though is where they're fighting and she pulls up the armadillo behind her. Like, I talked to him, he wants to turn himself in.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of power she got?
So Steve Rogers' adventures goes from he just goes and fights this what's his name, Brother Nature, where this guy has control over Mother Nature, and he does all these
guy or whatever he was.
Yeah, he's like a hippie guy, and then like the next time you see Steve Rogers is he's already took him to the hospital and arrested him or something. Yeah. And he runs into Falcon, Nomad, and D-Man. They're looking for him.
Falcon and D-Man end up in the hospital, remember?
Yeah, later, because that's the second trilogy or whatever of the story, when Steve Rogers gets his new cap suit. And here's the thing: if I'm the government, that suit is not far enough away from the original
departure to cover the copyright infringement.
Yeah, and D-Man's just pulling that out of his. Hey, look, I got this costume. You want it? Oh, sure. But they did say red, white, and blue. He couldn't be red, white, and blue, so he's being red, white, and black. So then it was good enough. I like the fact that he missed his shield though too.
I like the red, white, and black one. Wish they would figure out a way to use it today.
They do. It's a U.S. agent.
But I don't like him.
So we get a third of the way into the storyline, and the art change, like you mentioned. Kieron Dwyer comes on. And
yeah.
You as we were prepping to do the show, you were hyping on, Kieron Dwyer is the bee's knees. And I got to this page where Kieron Dwyer comes on. I'm like, really?
Hey, look who inked him.
Can I just tell you, Jay spent the last 5 minutes looking for the one page of Kieron Dwyer so he could talk bad about it.
No, that's just
look who inked him. Look who inked it. Todd Morgan inked this book.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, how is this happening?
So he disappears, and they bring in Al Milgrom. And then it's just like, okay, we found something. Okay, so in this book, they send the new Captain America basically to wipe out. So what's happening? The behind the scenes, the real story is that there is a evil bad guy that is trying to besmirch the legend of Captain America. That's what all this is about. Yeah. So he set him up against all these different nooks and crazy people So like he had the watchdogs, and then he beat them and killed them. He went crazy, he killed them, and then he's gonna go in here and kill Professor Power, and it's all besmirching Captain America. All that blood is on Captain America.
He's killing people because he didn't have the training. Like, I don't know when he got his powers, when he became, who he was, but he didn't have the training that Captain America did. And I think that's the only reason why he was killing people.
Well, that, and he's not mature, and he was like, oh my goodness, they just wiped out my mom and dad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
So
spoilers.
Hey, one thing also I want to say about Nomad is, my boy got done wrong by Winter Soldier, because he's basically the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Winter Soldier. Yeah, okay, Sidewinder, the Serpent Society guys. These were cool dudes. So I like the idea is that they're a union for snake gimmicked supervillains. That's all they are. They're like, hey, if you're a snake, snakes. Yeah, if you have anything to do with snakes as a supervillain, come join us. They're not like, oh, we're like Cobra, or we're all from the same universe. It's just like, hey, I have a snake gimmick. I shoot a snake gun. Can I join your thing? You got to pay dues and all that stuff.
Right. The one guy, he was in charge of the bookkeeping and everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, they only made each person made $1 million last year. Probably getting rid with that much crime.
Yeah, because they're like doing, he's like setting them up. He's like their agent. He's like setting them up to do birthday shows and stuff, like, so basically, so he's like their criminal broker. So he would like, oh, hey, Magneto, you need a snake dude? Sure, take him. And then, he goes and joins up with. That's the way I looked at it. He was like a booking agent for other snake people, which was hilarious. So they're having like a civil war inside. So then Viper, who appeared in some book, she comes in and she wants to take over. No, I don't even know if she really cares about taking over the Serpent Society. She's just trying to cause anarchy.
Isn't she taking over for somebody else, though? I thought she was setting it up for somebody else to take over.
I don't know. I don't think she was. I think it was just her. And then she poisoned Sidewinder with some cheesecake art. And then she said, hey, you're either with me or against me, the Serpent Society. Serpent Society, most of them join up, and the rest she's like poisoning. And this is also where we get Diamondback. Diamondback, who becomes a huge part of the Captain America storyline until well into the 400 issues.
Okay, because I was noticing at the end of my book, it says like Captain America's women, because logistic like that, and she was listed one of them. Like, oh, did she become good, or is she just like Catwoman?
Yeah, she was like his Catwoman for a while, type of thing. But so anyways, their whole plan is to poison the water supply and turn people into reptiles for a little while. So Steve Rogers saves Ronald Reagan. He fights him and saves him, and then gives him the antitoxin, which is great. And you get Ronald Reagan in a comic book.
Oh, wait a second. Who was the lady? What type of snake was she with the electronic whips or whatever? Whip or something?
Something, Coach Whip or something.
Yeah,
they're all snake related.
Yeah, what snake was that?
Coach Whip.
Oh, that's the thing?
Yeah, Coach Whip snake. So I'm sure.
If we break down the whole volume into thirds, the first third is getting from Steve Rogers removed from the Captain America role, installing John Walker as a new Captain America, and then by the end of the first third or so, Captain America gets back into the costume, so he's back in action again. Or Steve Rogers is back in action again.
And the captain, yeah.
The captain. Then the middle third of the book deals with the whole Serpent Society thing.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of a MacGuffin. That's the thing. This is all a MacGuffin to like just grow Steve Rogers, you know.
I mean, here's the thing: we can't just cut out the middle third out of this because it all counts. It all works towards the end.
Is that Tony Stark part too?
Yeah.
So the Serpent and Tony Stark.
So it all. It's not that we can narrow it down to removal of Steve Rogers, new Captain America, and then the downfall of the new Captain America, and put Steve Rogers back in the suit. So it's the Serpent Society stuff and dealing with Iron Man and Captain America, kind of talking through the politics and stuff with him to get us through to the turning point where let's start in motion to get Steve Rogers back into the Captain America outfit. So we'll start talking about the beginning of the wrap up here in just a second. But one thing I wanted to point out along the way regarding the art, it's some people realize this and some people don't. Kieron Dwyer is the stepson of John Byrne.
Oh, he's the stepson.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Byrne was married to somebody, and Kieron Dwyer is the son of his wife. And so there are clearly a couple pages in here where like John Byrne steps in for a penciling assist.
Or breakdowns.
Right.
He might have done some breakdowns.
You can kind of see it in some of the faces. John Byrne, he has a system of symbols he uses for faces.
Yeah. And then there's also Iron Man's faceplate is very John Byrne.
Can I interject with a question?
Yeah.
So it says here, because like you mentioned, halfway through I get the Iron Man versus the Captain. Oh, the Captain. I just read that as the Captain for once, instead of just seeing Captain America. Friends No More, right? I guess that was a series they did. And it says here that Mark Gruenwald is the editor. Mm-hmm. So when did he become an editor? Or is he just editing this to make sure his storyline stayed right?
Throughout the history of Marvel, writers can fill the job of editors, and editors can fill the jobs of writers.
Then my other question is, Al, since you were getting this month to month, did you know, when did you find out that Tony Stark gave him the shield?
I didn't get the Iron Man issue. I didn't get that until I started going and getting. I'm talking like the Iron Man, like 239 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I got it. I got the one where they're the Ron Friends cover, the yellow Ron Friends cover, where it's all like, oh, hey, Iron Man's here. So, and then I was like, oh, what happened? Because I didn't get the crossover book.
Okay. So you got a shield all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, like he's fighting Iron Man now. But it redoes it though. That's the thing. The exposition dump, the backstory dump is in there. So it's like, oh, hey, buddy, I know you SOB. This is what you did. And I like that too, because when they're talking about it, they lock eyes. When he like shocked him and knocked him out, he was like, you just like backstabbed me in the worst way. You know what I mean? And I felt that. Like, who hasn't had like, man, we're supposed to be buddies, man, and you're doing this?
Yeah, I like how they read it. Said no words were spoken, none are needed, for both men know that a bond has been broken between them that may never be whole again.
Yeah,
ended with that. No.
I mean, and you got that part there, and then you think about Civil War, the movie, where he's like, oh, you knew about Bucky Barnes, you know about my parents getting murdered. So it's kind of got that. Like, if you look back on it, it's like, man, they had this then, man. They had this, but it was because it was in a Captain America book, and no one really cared about Captain America back then. They had this stuff.
It goes all the way back to reintroducing Captain America back into the Marvel Universe, because when they were sharing was it Tales to Astonish was the book they shared for a while?
Tales of Suspense.
It was the first introduction of Captain America into that book. Was Iron Man had already been in it. Captain America comes along, and it's a fight scene between the two on the cover.
Well, I think the first time Cap was in there was an imposter.
Yeah. But this was reintroducing Captain America in the Silver Age. And after that fight cover issue, then from then on it was Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah, I'm sure the cover that we showed, the Friends No More, was probably an homage to that. I'm sure the Friends. I'm sure there was a bunch of them. There was a couple one where John Walker is getting dropped by the Freedom Force or whatever off that rock. That's an old Tales of Suspense cover that they redid too. So there's a lot of homages in the Ron Friends runs of covers. And I got his hats off to Ron Friends, man. If I was back in the day, if I had like the New Gods, I was doing the New Gods or any Fourth World or Kirby style book, I would have got Ron Friends all over that. Yeah, I'm sure that's like an homage.
This is an homage, I think, to a Daredevil cover. It was Daredevil fighting Captain America. But
you can see that's Kirby and like Ramita Love Baby or something, you know?
Yep.
But I love me some Ron Friends though too. I just picked up a bunch of Thor runs that he did. He took over right before they brought in the new Thor guy. Man, I'm loving that. As a Kirby head, as a Buscema guy, as a Ramita senior guy, I was all about that. So anyways, yeah, this is kind of a side story. This is more of like them just wanting to get Cap a shield. And like also a comment because Iron Man was doing the Armor Wars at this time. So that's what that was about. So like you can't have like Steve Rogers not involved in like, wait, dude, what are you doing, man? You serious? Type of thing. So that's what that. But what was cool is that after that he goes back and they fight and he's like, I'm not using the shield anymore. I won't use the shield. And he like tosses that shield that it was basically a bribe. And he was like, I'm not using it. So then he calls his other buddy that could do that tough, and he got Black Panther to do that, and they just drop it off and stuff. They're like, here you go. Like,
and then flying across to the snake pit.
Yeah. That whole thing was pretty cool. I forgot about that part. It was a quick part that they got Black Panther, and he was just on a video. He's just like, hey, man, I'm busy. I ain't messing with this stuff. Get out of here. But as we go...
Oh, and even when he first threw it, he's like, this reacts differently than his other.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. That's the little things they did was where every shield, like when he first didn't have a shield and he like ripped something out, the man, I missed my shield. It's like it's his arm. And then when he finally does this, you know, whatever, where we're at, finally does get his shield back, he's like, oh my God, this is like, I love it. You know, he was in love with it, which he gets the shield back because, anyways, on the other side of the flavor, John Walker's flipping out because his parents were. Okay, go ahead.
Story. So here's what I mentioned earlier about I had certain expectations about how this was all going to go down, and part of what I thought was going to happen was that John Walker was going to be either slowly unravel or he would be slightly unhinged from the very beginning and then kind of build up to just being a maniac psycho at the end. And that's not how it played out.
No. So what happens is the buddies that couldn't get okayed for being a part of his team, they go, hey, you forgot us. They come out as the left and right wingers. Yep. With cool suits. They got some cool suits. I like their design.
Oh, yeah. It's these two guys right here.
Yeah.
The R stands for the right winger.
Huh? No, that's not it. Those are that's the mutant resistance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
right, we'll show those guys too.
Yeah, they have their hair
when they have the press conference to announce the new Captain America.
Yeah, they bust in and they're like, hey, this is John Walker. He lives so and so. So basically, they give out the secret identity of the new Captain America, which leads to the Watchdogs kidnapping his parents. Right, you can see it. And then after this,
before we get there, we gotta get to my favorite part where they're introducing Captain America, and then they introduce Battlestar, and like the black lady goes, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the lady of the crowd. She's like, "Who? Hey, there you go."
Mm-hmm.
You had to point that out.
All right.
Yeah. And at the same time, they're filling John Walker's head. The commission is one of the commission guys. There's like, oh, Steve Rogers, he's spitting in the face of America and he's doing this.
Yeah.
He attacked the president and all this, but in reality, he saved the president and all that stuff. So they're doing what they're
Waiting.
doing what we do today with our politics. Like, oh, he didn't mean that. He meant this, But yeah, so so what happens is because his identity is revealed, they kidnapped his parents. So he goes there to save them, and he's trying to be a macho man, and they get wiped out. His parents get wiped out. So then John Walker, he flips, and he just wipes all the rest of those dudes out. Yeah, he takes them out. And like the craziest scene is at the end. And this is another thing. You got to think, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10 or something, 10, 11. And I'm watching people getting just like used as human shields. But I'd watched RoboCop already, I've watched, Terminator, The Thing. But yeah, so they ace his parents. And then he's like he's using the broken because they were going to hang him. And he broke the thing down, and he's got the wood, and he's just spiking people using the gun and the guy's head and stuff. So this is pretty violent stuff. And he's snapped, just like that guy's neck.
He went into Wolverine's berserker rage.
Right.
He pitchforked somebody. Jeez.
But then at the end here, this is sad. He's like talking to his parents, like, you see it in movies where it's like, no, it'll be okay. Don't be,
Yeah.
So he's lost it. And that's one thing I noticed about this is before this, you could read his thought. He would have thought bubbles. And after this, there's no thought bubbles for him.
Interesting. I never picked up on that.
At least in the later S, when he's like, when he gets frozen or when he gets the flag smasher, after the flag smasher, there's no thought bubbles for him. Because he's one track mind.
No, I think you're right. I don't think after this we see any of them. Because here he's like, they've got him in jail for having killed all those people.
Yeah, he just became RoboCop. He's just like, I'm here to serve and protect. I don't care, whatever. So that's a cool little thing because he doesn't. It's like we're not going to show you his brain anymore. So it's that little decision which you overlooked. Why you should love this storyline.
By the way, we talked about, I think John Byrne pitched in on an issue before. I think Michael Golden might have stopped in the office here and pitched in on these pages. Because this has got Michael Golden written all over it.
Oh, boy. You just can't give it to the boy again. You can't give it to Dwyer.
Your least favorite artist ever.
I like Michael Golden. What are you talking about?
You hated him when we had our little thing about the...
No, I didn't. Who was he against? He was against somebody, and I was like, eh.
I think it was Hart Adams, actually. It was somebody good like that.
I like Michael Golden. I don't know what you're talking about. I like him because he did a lot of great covers.
Michael Golden is no Mike Zack. I know that.
He's gaslighting me. So, anyways, yeah, they basically what happens is they after he flips out and kills a bunch of people. I think this is the episode. He does it here. They keep suspending him, but then the mysterious benefactor is like, put him back out there. Put him back out there. And it's obvious who it is already.
Is it obvious?
Huh?
Is it obvious?
Well, if you read he's red and he's smoking a cigarette. But I guess if you know Red Skull died like 50 issues before, and it could have been anybody, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he's
more handsome than the Red Skull was. That's what threw me off.
Yeah, there's a Freedom Force. That's like so they're like trying to set up the mutants. Like again, at this time they were doing the X Factor was just, I think X Factor or Inferno just happened.
Yeah.
So X Factor was like a fake. At first, X Factor was like a fake. Hey, we're gonna stop mutants, but they were actually getting them and helping them.
Yep. Then the
Oh, one thing I did was the issue where Steve Rogers came back. The first issue he ever appeared with a beard. That might be a first appearance of the Rogers beard.
No, think it through. First appearance of the beard would have been Avengers #4.
When they defrosted him?
Oh wait, no, that was.
No, he didn't have a beard.
I'm thinking of Submariner, where
where they burn it off.
Burned it off. Yeah, you're right.
So, anyways, Walker goes. He's off of his parents just dying, and he's just like, man, he's on robot mode. So he's terminating people.
They give him this, villainous grin.
Yeah, he was unhinged. Man, he's just wiping cats out. He's loving it. Look, he's gonna electrocute it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Pinch my nipples. He was goofy here, But man, look at this art though. Look at this fight. That's great. I don't care who helped. That helps some more because Dwyer, I think.
Mike Macklin, right?
Who?
Huh?
Mike Macklin? Macklin?
Never heard of him.
McCone or what?
That guy never had a career.
So Mike Macklin, and Gregory Wright.
Never heard of him. He did a pinup.
Oh, yeah, a special pinup.
Oh my, yeah, okay. Anyway, now this is when stuff gets crazy, okay? Because in this issue, there's the left and right wingers, right? Yeah. I think their suits are pretty cool.
They are,
but they're not. They're not going to be wearing them very much longer. So, because of what they did to him, John Walker's going to their parents and like, hey, I'm looking for your boys, and I'm going to hurt them. He's become Michael Myers right now. This is basically Arnold Schwarzenegger doing the Terminator, like Sarah O'Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my thing: the man didn't have enough sense to use a different costume.
Oh, he didn't care. He was done. He was just like, yeah, Captain America's coming to. It's like Tombstone. Tell him Captain America's coming to town and hell's coming with him. What I like is when they go to one of the guys' dads. And he's like, or the mom's like, I don't care about him. Go talk to his dad. Leave me alone. Yeah, this is where they start talking to
John Burns stopped in the office on this page too.
Yeah, probably.
Look, if it wasn't that distracting, I wouldn't mention it, but it is. It pulls me out of the story. Here you go.
Maybe he was just that influence. He was looking off of,
No, it wasn't influence because that last face I just showed looked nothing like this one. But here's that scene you're talking about, where the guy he stops into his buddy's mom and he says, "Get out of here."
Yeah, that was a good one. So when you watch The Shining, at the beginning of The Shining, there's a track where they're going and basically. It's filmed by helicopter. And they're going up there, and people say, "Oh man, look what Stanley Kubrick did," but he didn't film that. So that happens in movies, and I'm sure it happens in comic books when someone else goes, "Hey, I did this. Here, go ahead." So, I guess it's up to you if you can't look past someone like, "Hey, I did your face for you."
Well, it looks as distinctive as a John Byrne face. That stands out.
Oh, this is another thing that was cool. I never knew about. There was another guy posing as the Red Skull, and he was put in. They were letting him go, or they broke him out and just blew him away. This made me, like reading it now, made me want to see Red Skull as a mantle and less as a person that's just always Red Skull. I want someone to be like, I'm the new Red Skull, in which this storyline would have been cooler to me now if that's what would have happened. Yeah, Mystique turned into Quicksilver. That was pretty good back there. But
why I gotta make my man uneducated?
What do you mean?
Why I gotta go to night school?
Oh yeah, Battlestar.
I mean,
I don't know, man. They just decided
what's the
to do
purpose
that.
behind that?
Yeah, look at this action here, man. Look at the Burn-esque battle here.
This is not Burn-esque, but this is definitely Kieron Dwyer. I'm not saying he's a bad artist. I just inconsistent and letting people stop in and draw on his pages.
Jeez. It's not like he hasn't went on to draw some really great stuff. I just think for Captain America at this time, he was to me, this is like Jim Lee coming on or Todd McFarlane coming on Spider-Man or Rob Liefeld, whatever, I think he took Cap to a new level. So,
well, like you said earlier, this is Captain America went through a degradation of art through this 100-issue era, where Mike Zeck had been drawing it, and then
he did what? A couple issues. How many issues did he do?
Mike Zeck?
Yeah,
he drew a lot.
Did a lot, mostly covers though.
No, he did the Deathlock storyline. He did. I know he did issue 300.
I think Paul Neary did a lot of the Death of Red Skull innards.
Did he draw it or ink it?
I think he did a lot of the insides. But I could be wrong because I've been wrong before. But anyways, let's get to the storyline.
Curious now.
Wait. So anyways, yeah, he wipes out. Okay, so there you go. He did the cover, and then who did the inside? It doesn't look like Mike Zeck to me.
No, it doesn't. Stanley presents.
And they don't tell you because they don't want you. I think that's Paul Neary, dude.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I should say Mark Gruenwald. Yeah, Mark Gruenwald wrote up. So that's what.
Paul Neary. There you go.
Yeah.
Give it up to you.
So the majority of covers, Mike Zeck I'm sure he did the Deathlock stuff, but as it went on, he just did covers. Just like John Byrne, he had maybe 10 issues, maybe. That's Ron Friends there.
Yep.
Yeah, I like. Yeah.
So
if you thought it'd even be crazier, but
so
I'll let you crap all over Kieron Dwyer, even though I love it. So
as they were wrapping up the whole John Walker storyline, they had Steve Rogers get in a kind of a side story with what's his Flag Smasher? Is that what his name?
No, what happened was that Flag Smasher found out who was doing all the stuff. He found out the main bad guy because he was also bankrolling Flag Smasher stuff, and he was like, "Oh, that's who did it. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. I want the real Cap." So he was basically having he had to fight his crew. And he was like, "Bring me Captain America. Captain America can help me." So the government, who had already suspended John Walker for being a nutbag, send John Walker because it might kill him. And that's what the one dude was like, "Send him." Cool. When he got there, when Captain America, John Walker got there, Flag Smasher was like, "You're not Captain America." And so it's like he beat up John Walker, and he hung him up by his wrists and dipped him in water and stuff. Did some crazy stuff to him. And then Battlestar was there, and he was like, "I better go get the real Cap, or he's gonna kill the John." So that's where that comes in.
Okay.
So they got a free. They do a whole bad go read this Avengers because this happens between this and this, which messed me up.
All right, Al. Right quick, what does ultimatum stand for?
Oh my God, I can't. It's there. I can't leave. Yeah, no, thank you.
Fully integrated mobile army to unite mankind.
Yeah, So they don't want any nations. They don't want religions and stuff like that. So they just want everybody to be together, which, whatever. It's fine. But it's cool. The action's great in this. Again, great action teller. And look at that. I like that coloring. There's some John Byrne for you. But anyways, yeah. Only thing so this is where they're like firing John Walker, and then Reagan comes in and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" So
you're the new Captain America. Looking forward to seeing your work.
Yeah, and then he goes on and goes, "Hey, what happened to Steve Rogers, buddy?" He's like, "I'm leaving, so I'm going to not be the president anymore." But the crooked guy, the guy at the bottom here with the white hair, with it looks like Harry Carey from
Yep,
announcer.
Yeah.
He's the crooked guy out of all this. So he's
Cardinals announcer.
Yeah, he's answering to the main bad guy, and then he goes rushing to the main bad guy, and he's like, "Hey, they want we got Steve Rogers or something," and they don't, Reagan wants to do something with Steve Rogers, and he's all like, "We'll put a tracker on him, and set him free, because the main bad guy doesn't want him to die yet." So,
Wait, so did Battlestar get fired or what?
no. He continued on. He was and he teamed up with Steve Rogers for a while after this.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so
I don't know that I'd ever seen Battlestar like ever before reading this.
Probably not.
In the comic books. I mean, in the TV show.
Yeah. He was in the TV show.
I had totally forgotten about Battlestar being in the TV show.
Okay.
I
remember,
but
I remember all the black characters.
I slept through a lot of that TV show.
And that's why
as he does many things, because then he would have realized Paul Neary drew number 300 and not Mike Zeck. Anyway, here we are, folks. Issue 350, the culmination of so many storylines that started even before Cap No More. I mean, we had the Scourge. We end up finding out that Red Skull is behind all this. The Scourge that was blowing away supervillains and a lot of the comic books of the 80s. Ultimatum, he's behind that. He's behind the Watchdogs. He's behind the Resistance and all these things. And he did it all to take a big dump on the identity of Captain America.
And he looks exactly like Steve Rogers.
Yeah, so what happens is when he died back in 300, in issue 300, he got blood from Steve Rogers, and they made him a new body. And so he's like, how best to defame my most hated arch nemesis by destroying Captain America's image and then wearing the man underneath the mask, his face and his body. So basically it's Steve Rogers versus Steve Rogers, but one of them has the brain of Red Skull. And again, some more crazy action here.
A lot of gymnastics.
And Speedos. Just seeing Red Skull breaking some Captain America's up is crazy to me. He's Bane. He's Bane before Bane right there. He's breaking Cap's back.
Yep.
And also, look at this. Yeah, he just heads that dude with the shield. What more can you ask for? This is a payoff, man. This is what 350 is about. Is you get to find out who the villain is. You get Cap back. You get Cap versus Cap. And you get the return. It's a payoff. It's a pretty good sized book too. You get your money's worth.
I got a kick out of this little side mission right here. Steve Rogers on the streets of New York. Gotta go rescue somebody.
Saves him with an apple pie.
And, yep.
That's what he's about, though. But he's also, by this time, he realizes that he's Steve Rogers, and it's not about, he doesn't have to be Captain America anymore, even though, so that's the good stuff. I don't know. You can snap on the art all you want, but I'm digging Kieron Dwyer. Okay, so what ends up happening is that Red Skull's a big bad guy. Okay, he has the body of Steve Rogers, and he set up this whole thing. He orchestrates it to where both John Walker and Steve Rogers are going to be in the same place. So he wants them I think he wants them to kill each other in a battle. And also he's wiping out like all his his henchmen here. He's like, I don't need you anymore. So he kills the commission guy that was been such a pain in the side of, everybody. Who's been causing all this havoc. He wipes him out, and it's like, the cool thing is here is Steve Rogers doesn't go, oh no, it's the Red Skull. He goes, oh, this dude wants me to think he's the Red Skull.
Yep.
And I think that's telling it. Like, Steve Rogers ain't gonna be like, he's not rushed to judgment. He's just like, all right, hold on, we'll check it out. So that's another kudos to that. So another thing that they pointed out throughout this whole thing is Steve Rogers never knew who took over Captain America. And he finds out later that it's the Super Patriot, the guy that he fought in a previous comic book, which is like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right. Here's the big reveal of the villain kind of, what do you call it? Not dialoguing. Monologue.
Yeah.
Here's my plan. I'm finally bringing it to light to show the quote unquote hero the damage, my plan, what I've been doing to you all along. So he recaps with all the groups of villains we've seen in these previous issues.
Yeah, that's pretty cool setup there. To me, it's like, wait, you're Steve Rogers? I don't know what Steve Rogers. Like, how many people know what Steve Rogers looks like?
Right.
So he's like, huh? So he's thinking he's Steve Rogers anyways, because he basically tells him I'm the original Cap. So he's like, you son of a gun, I'm going to beat you up.
Oh, that was another question I had from way back when too. So nobody knows who Iron Man is?
No, they thought he was the bodyguard.
Okay.
For Tony Stark.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So back to this.
Okay, so while John Walker is just maiming people, murdering people, Steve Rogers is like walking in and he's getting his speech from the Red Skull. And he's like, yeah, I did all this. This is a good wrestling buildup, because you got in this corner John Walker, who's been turned into this gigantic freak mental case. And then he was like, Steve Rogers, I did all this mental stuff to you, but it's, whatever. Now go in there and have your fight. This is WrestleMania. This number 350 is the WrestleMania of the Captain America storyline here. It's the culmination.
There it goes. Here's the main event.
Yeah. And they're just crushing it, man. They're like just whipping each other up. And that's another thing I like about this, is it shows how Captain Steve Rogers is different from most brutes, and that he can take out people. He knows how to. It's something that they showed more in like the Ultimates, when he's like, oh, I pinpointed this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I never really paid attention as a kid. But if you go back, you're like, oh yeah, I can understand how he's finding the weaknesses and he's taking out, And by this time, because of his journey, which the storyline is, his journey to become, his own man, he's more confident from the last time he took this dude on,
Mm-hmm.
The last time he said it was a draw, but then you hear, he might have actually just got whipped. And then the other guy's unhinged. He's just flailing at this point, trying to just murder people. And I think that's, we get Cap back, we get Steve Rogers in with confidence.
And all it took was this double sock to the ears to knock him out.
Yeah. That's what they used to do. You put them in a bear hug and you just smack their ears. So what's cool here is that, okay, so Red Skull is looking like, yeah. So Cap, if you go back, Cap notices that he's not inhaling the smoke. he says it. He's like, why isn't he inhaling? So you know something's kind of goofy. So I guess his idea was to just, hey, how's it going? To put the smoke in Steve Rogers' face and turn him into a Red Skull. It probably would have killed Steve Rogers. I think they say that later that Red Skull survived the death smoke, the red smoke, because he was Red Skull, and his beauty's gone.
Didn't die from it.
Yeah. And then they were. I always thought that he was like, I didn't know which one of you I was throwing it at or something. How do you know it wasn't? I thought, I don't know. I don't remember that, but and this is where Cap's like, they're getting rid of John Walker, and then Steve Rogers is like, you know what? You guys want me to be Captain America anymore? You need me for that? I don't really need it. I can serve my own way. I'm going to be my own man, type of thing, and that's really the culmination of this whole thing.
It's right here.
It's Steve Rogers type of thing,
I've learned that it's the man that counts, not the clothing.
Yeah,
I'll be in touch.
That's the opposite of the Men's Warehouse theme.
Can you imagine? And then of course John Walker goes, "Hey, if you don't do it, they're going to get somebody else to do it. It's going to be, some crazy dude with, cyborg arm."
500 words.
That's
they're trying to fish this up in an annual or a big book. Then you get this, and he's happy again.
Let's interesting note. Let's compare this to this.
Yeah, man. I think we see an evolution of Kieron Dwyer in these books, and then as he goes on and he gets a different inker, Dan Blunt, I forgot what his name was. Like, it starts with a B, Bundele or Bun, yeah.
No, Bundele.
He does a completely different style. It turns it into more of a smoother, not as jagged muscles. It's like it's defined, but it's not. You'd have to look at the Bloodstone, which is kind of after this, as the Bloodstone hunt, which was one of my favorite. Like, it's I think it's 6 issues. It brings back Baron Zemo, all this stuff, and it's pretty fun. And they're after it's like an Indiana Jones story for Captain America, where he's trying to find the Infinity Gauntlets. No, the shards of the. Anyway, yeah, Baron Zemo was a Nazi, so yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nazi. It was very Indiana Jones. So we did it.
Yep. So Victor, what's your opinion looking back? Spoiler: did you read the whole thing?
No. It got a little long there. Here's my thoughts. I like most of what I read. I strong most of what I read. I liked. It just got a little. There's just about 4 or 5 issues too long. I didn't like the snakes. I'm like. There was a long story, but first of all, I really don't like snakes. I am definitely scared of snakes to begin with. Okay, So I'll need to be reading snakes before I'm going to sleep. But the thing is, just a lot about. And plus, I didn't get it, and I'm like, why are they fighting each other? Who's trying to take over? Oh well. But most of what I read, I loved. Really like. So the beginning, you heard me in the beginning. This is great. But they kind of got away from that we want to have the guy progress. These guys progress.
So did you get so bogged down in the snake stuff that you didn't get through to the end, or did you skip to the end?
No, I'm weird. It's hard for me to skip stuff.
I got to a point in this where it was such a slog that I was like, I have to skim a couple of these issues because I just don't care. I just want the story to progress. And the thing is, by the time that when you get to the end, you then see how all the kind of more unimportant stuff that you thought you're kind of skipping over actually did tie into the plot of the villain.
I mean, I am determined to read this. See, and also told Jamie this. Reading this manga, how you say it really messed me up. Cause I'm like, I can read 10 issues in 2 days, no problem. Because manga, I'm going through 10 chapters in a day. That's where you realize a chapter is not equivalent to a book.
And there's a ton less dialogue in manga than there is in a 80s era comic book.
There is so much less dialogue.
Us old guys that are like poo-pooing all these new comic books, especially for the fact that you read a comic book and then you can read through the whole thing in like 10 minutes. And we're like, oh, the good old days, you could sit down and it'd take you 20 minutes or a half hour at least just to get through a whole issue. And then we pull out these old issues and start reading them and we're like, man, this thing is long. I think it's a combination of all the dialogue per issue and the amount of issues that were involved in this thing, and part of them not being super crucial to the story we wanted to read.
Well, the thing is that we're reading. The thing was years. How many issues? Ooh, no, like how many issues? It was stretched over months when I was getting them.
Right. Yeah.
It had to be at least 2 years of issues.
Yeah. And that's also amazes me too. That's where Ralph comes in, or recapping Ralph really comes in handy, I think. Yeah. It's like, well, what happened? Oh, let me go back to this last issue. Oh, okay, I'm with you now. And you're caught up on the storyline.
I'm talking about I understand that like certain things of the art, it's 80s. That's like going back and watching Terminator go, oh, when he cuts his eye out here, that looks so fake. It's like, well, you got to think about the time, man. The time. You gotta, watch it like that. And it's also art. It's still art, even though you think it looks funky. It's like it's still cool. My thing is it's you got your meals, man. You kind of had to break it up. But this is over 2 years, and we had to cram it. So that's on us. Mm-hmm. And I did it too. I was like, well, I better refresh when you was like, oh yeah, this Saturday at like 10:30. I'm like, uh-oh. So I read from like 3:32 to like 3:50, like in 2 days. But I was also skimming when it came to like the exposition dumps. It was like, well, yesterday I did this and I took a crap and did my lawn, I didn't need to know because I already read that. But you got to know that every month a new person's picking the book up. A new person should pick that book up, and you got to go, hey guys, Coach Vic is asking a lot of questions here. We got to fill in these. We got to let him know within this dialogue. And then sometimes you can just do that with the Star Wars scroll at the beginning of a book, or you can have them go, well, Johnny, this is what happened to me yesterday, which actually happens in real life. In a sense, when you're like every day I'm telling someone the same, like 2 or 3 people the same story, and I get sick of hearing myself. Like, well, I got pulled over by the cops. What happened? Well, what happened was I was going too fast. And so, I get it. It was a slog. But again, you said, and you thought, I thought that Weapon X was too much. Uh-huh. Yeah, but with Weapon X, it was like discombobulated voices talking over. At least you know who was talking and what they were talking about.
Too. Weapon X was shorter.
It didn't feel like it. It did not feel like it.
Yes,
listen, I love the artwork, but I'm not going to reread that. I will reread in chunks this. I have a fondness for this, not only because it was my childhood stuff, but it is still basic in the middle. The stake in the middle of the story is great, right? Hey, that the mac and cheese might have been a little bit runny, whatever. There's a lot of stuff in this. It's edible and it's good and it's fun and it's a good, fun comic book. It's not like a mature reader thing. Well, it is kind of because he's wiping some dudes out. But I think that's where you're forgetting. Like comic book reading Jamie is not today, Jamie. It's not Dad Jamie. Like you're like, oh, sure. They talk. There's a lot of dialogue. Remember the book, that comic story we did together? One of the characters I had was just like blah 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 blah. That was the character.
That was the point of the character. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe Captain America, maybe Steve Rogers just is long-winded. I think we had a cool setup. It was a beautiful payoff. It just took a long time. I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Oh, come on. Victor,
all right.
But
here we go. Hopefully Crisis wins. Because
here's the thing.
I don't get the pick.
Having made it through Weapon X and now Captain America No More, do we want to still consider having Crisis on Infinite Earths and Marvel's Secret War, or even Kraven's Last Hunt?
Kraven's Last Hunt's is 6 issues.
True.
So that's very small.
I could probably get through Crisis. I've never read Marvel's Secret War.
It's very light.
I've heard that it's. Let me put it this way. I don't know if that popped up. I don't know that I'd read it. Not all the way through.
Hey, Crisis is thick, but I love Crisis. That's the thing. I like some.
This one with Jonathan Hickman?
No, that's not the one.
No.
Oh, it says Marvel Secret Wars all on it.
Yes, and you would not want to read that one because it is super complicated. By
you guys are
just it's crazy. But you guys
are buddy duddies. That's what I've come to.
The Marvel Superhero Secret War.
Okay.
Would you like to replace that with an Ironheart?
Yeah.
An Ironheart trade?
Yeah.
Trade. What? Okay. Iro.
Yeah, it's like 12 issues.
It's not 12 issues. It'll be 6.
Oh, it'll be 6.
Iron here.
Mm-hmm. The Crisis on Infinite Earth or Secret Wars, they're going to be doing that movie. So, like, it's more like the Ironheart's never going to be seen. They're going to tax right off that show.
Here's what here's what we did last time. Last time we eliminated all my picks. So we were sure to pick one of either of yours.
So you're going to eliminate my picks? Vic?
It doesn't matter to me. Whoever lands on.
Sure?
Your names aren't even in here. So put your names back, I guess. I don't know. It's been so long.
What were my other picks?
Didn't save it? 100 bullets, I'm sure. Something more depressing.
Okay, I did save it.
Yeah, okay. It's got to be depressing. Whatever you got on here is probably going to be super depressing. When you had Weapon X, and you had...
I had Marvel.
Teen Titans Volume 1. That might be fun.
I think Volume 1 is 6 or 8 issues.
Hey, you want to talk about talking, though.
True. That will be another very dialogue heavy.
That's like a oof, baby. So that's on you, man.
There was something else that popped up that I was thinking maybe that
I like Marvel. Marvel was good.
Or was it? No, it was something I hadn't read yet. What was it?
8 Billion Genies.
No, I read that.
Oh, how was
it?
8 billion G's.
Oh, it was the newer Superman stuff, but that was a long series too. That was another 12 or 15 issues.
We do Superman All-Star Superman. That's 12 issues.
That's 12 issues that I would put the effort into.
You wouldn't?
I would.
Right, go ahead if you want to. It's fun. It's a comic book. Or Superman for All Seasons is good.
I'll be your man for all seasons.
All right. Does this look good? Anything else we want to replace?
I like Golden Age. Is that all the only two I got?
You got
Wonder Woman's Dead. No, those are good. Wonder Woman Dead Earth is fun.
Ironheart, Craven's Last Hunt, Black Panther, Enemy of the State.
I'm going to show off real quick that I got some new comics. What's it?
All right. How many times?
Command D.
Command D would be good to read a few issues of.
Yeah. 5 times.
5 times?
Cool Rider. Cool Rider.
5 times.
Oh, somebody caught up with me. With my man for all seasons.
Get caught up with Magic Lasso's comments here. He's predicting Craven.
I predict pain.
Yes.
I got the reference too. I knew the song. All right, 5 times. Here we go. 1.
Oh, we're doing 3, right?
5.
5 of them?
Yeah. 2.
Oh, I thought it would be 3.
Well, Victor said 5, so we're doing 5.
Oh, come on, dude. That would
2.
be perfect. That's a good book.
3.
It should be 3.
4.
Right. Man, come on. All mine are getting picked.
Here's number 5.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Five, what are you doing? That was it, wasn't it? Wait.
Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Is that winning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to read Ronin.
Oh.
That was the question. Isn't that a Hawkeye story?
That's the wrong Ronin.
Yeah.
A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story?
Oh my goodness. You totally.
All right, so it'll be another month before we get to this again.
How about Golden Age? Let's read Golden Age. Anyways, Crisis on Infinite Earth. It's funny whenever, like, even with Weapon X, when we picked Weapon X, it was like a fart in church. It was just like, oh, yeah. So, like, it lands on Ronin, and it's the same thing. It's just like, yeah. Okay. But hey, I want to show real quick the books I got. Can I show real quick these books?
Yeah, Victor, I think you'll get it.
Okay.
All right, so I found some Captain Victories at Rabbit Hole Comics in Hartford, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So they're cheap, but these are the only ones they really had. So these are like $2. So I got these, and not too many people are like scrambling for some, Captain Victories, but I was saying, look at that.
I pulled the set out of that out of one of those flea markets in Niles.
Niles? Oh, I love those places. I go to everybody. Okay, and then at Buy Me Toys, I picked up number 9 at 199, and this classic cover 200,
mm-hmm.
and then this classic cover 201. I had to get
baby cable.
Yeah, I dug it. I was digging it, man. These covers are nice, and of course, this is just happening in those cartoons.
Yep,
they're showing and wiping the stuff. So anyway, then
I liked when Rick Leonardi would stop in for an issue like he did on 201. Always liked his art.
All right. Yeah, this cover, Wrigley and Artie right there.
Yep.
Hey, Morty. Biggie Shaq. Shaq, I got something for you. You've probably seen it. Look at that. Fresh.
Oh, yeah.
So fresh. Ooh. It has a little creasing in on it, but not bad.
It's the George Perez book, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Marv Wolfman?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about Crisis.
Yes.
Okay. But also, guys, speaking of Crisis, maybe. Huh?
There you go.
You know what? I have an idea for your cover.
Go ahead.
Put us on it.
So what I did to make it easier for me, well, I'm going to draw on this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What I did,
You made your own.
no,
Oh, you took it off.
I took it off. So basically,
Did you undo the staple and everything? You took the whole
I
thing
did.
apart?
Took the staples out. I'm going to put them back in when I'm done.
Sure.
But actually, these are pretty cool because the inside paper is the art or the coloring, very old school. It's newsprint.
I actually might pick that up and read that because I don't have a collected edition, so I'll have to read my individual issues.
This is nice. This is a nice facsimile or whatever they call them. But I am starting. I'm going to. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the front cover and then maybe put do something else on the back because I'm not going to do it like no way. Am I going to attempt to do this? Yeah. I might hang this up, get another one just to hang that up. I love that cover though, but it will have all the characters. I've decided that it will have all the superheroes that even the ones that I don't know who they are, right? I know who they are, but like Firebrand. Anyways.
Well, they just get killed off.
No, she doesn't get killed. No, I'm not doing the Crimson or the Crime Syndicate guys. I was gonna do that, but then Nick Haver had a great idea to do the Hanna-Barbera superheroes, like with this. But I'm actually gonna do. I got a cool idea, and hopefully, I will get it done, and I won't procrastinate. And hey, if anybody out there wants to see that, give me some hurrahs. Give me some hey, do it. Let's see you do it for once, Al. Don't procrastinate. I consider it's not procrastination if you never do it, right?
Right.
So I'll stop procrastinating. Give me a cheerlead me or something. Say what you want. I was thinking about doing one, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It is for the Brave and the Bold, Kid Flash, Aqualad. This guy.
I got dibs on Aqualad.
Huh?
If you made each one of us a character, I'll call dibs on Aqualad.
Oh, draw us as the characters and make him Aqualad.
No, we got an idea for that.
One person in the world wants you to do it.
DC Miller, hey, that's great. Do it. Well, yeah, do it. Runs do it. I plan. I got some stuff. I'm going to film it. I was doodling because I want old Superman to look like an older dude because in this one he doesn't really look. He just looks like Superman with white hair. So I want him with some wrinkles and stuff. So I was practicing on him. And I think I got a good layout for the cover, and I wanted to be serious because I'm not gonna do hero toony stuff that I normally do. So I'm gonna try to do that. There's a lot of cool a lot of cool outfits on there. Like Firestorm, what a great outfit. Obsidian, his outfit is overlooked, and I get to do John Stewart, and I get to do Cyborg. I love Cyborg. I love Vic Stone.
Speaking of cool outfits and black guys, you think I could wear a robe and pull off Mace Windu for New Comic Book Day?
Absolutely.
You could wear a Ric Flair robe. That'd be pretty cool too. Nature boy, woo! That'd be great. You should do that.
Yeah, get the blonde wig.
Ooh, no, but I would be Mace Windu dressed as Ric Flair. And then I could just go around call people at the comic book store MFers.
Oh yeah, Mace Windu, Samuel Jackson. Yeah, he's like, I'm tired of these Sith on my mother. Oh, yeah. Thank God it was a DC book he was handling with bare hands and removed staples. It was a reprint. It's a reprint. It's not the original. It's not the original. I'm going to do it. I got a ROM, Marvel ROM. That's what I'm loving about these is that they're bringing out all these. I got tons of these, right? I got tons. I got ROM. I got the Wonder Woman #1 and stuff like that.
Where'd you get them?
I got these at Buy Me Toys and Comics over there at Mission Wall. But you can get them at your local comic book shop, I'm sure. What's cool is it has a cover for the cover. It has a dust sheet or dust cover for it.
Because they're supposed to have the Black Panther and the Miles Morales blank covers, but they didn't have them when I looked.
Probably still a lot of them. But do they have sketch covers of that?
Yeah.
It says X-Men 130 facsimile coming out Wednesday. No blank sketch cure. None? I'm digging it. If you guys want to see me do these, Jamie, I would almost challenge you to do. Challenge you.
You gotta throw that.
What? Yeah, I challenge you, Jamie, to do. I don't know. Let's see. What should it be, Vic? What comic book sketch cover should we challenge Jamie to do? I think since I'm doing Crisis, you got to do a Crisis too. And then when we do Crisis, when we review the Crisis books, we'll pop them off.
I'm not gonna have time to draw a cover and read the book at the same time.
But just don't read the book. Do the audio book. Have Vic read it to you.
Technically, wouldn't have to read the book again to.
Yeah, I can just point you to which episodes on the Arrowverse to watch.
Yeah,
that is not going to help you.
You know this is happening because Vic's just going to mention, oh, what happened to what's his name, Duggar or Digger or whatever his name was. What was his name?
Diggs.
Diggs.
Black guy who was supposed to become Green Lantern, never did become Green Lantern.
Hey, you can do anything. I challenge you, Jamie. I challenge you. Just the front, just not the wrap, not a wraparound. Enough people that are listening. Let's challenge Jamie to do it.
How about you choose any of the? Was it 12 issues?
Yeah.
You guys could do a homage of any types of any of the 12 issues for Crisis.
Sure. Yeah. No, Jamie has. You can do it any of the 12 issues. Any of the characters, you got to do it.
Any way you want to, but it has to be related to Crisis in some way.
All right.
Like if you want to do the Minions again, I know that's not happening.
I got an idea.
Oh,
I got an idea.
But
I'll tell you what.
This right here, do not watch this. Do not.
Oh, it's on Max.
Do not watch the Crib Notes version.
It has nothing to do with the original. But hey, Jamie, if you're down, let's do it, man. I challenge you. The gauntlet is thrown.
All right. I'm gonna have to squeeze in the time. I'm gonna have to run out to the comic shop today and pick that up.
What are you gonna do, brother?
And if you want to see something cool, show up May 4th. You'll see Mace Windu dressed as Ric Flair. For the
Mace Flair. Is it Rick Windu or Mace Flair?
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah, I really don't want that.
2 copies.
Yeah, I really don't want that. I'll be down here trying to figure out how to use James' airbrush machine.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to challenge you all the time now. I want a show of us just fighting with drawing sketch covers. But I know you have a life and you can't do it.
No,
So I went.
I'm left-handed and have no artistic ability. I'm an insult to left-handed people everywhere.
So here's my kind of schedule. So I will have to knock it out pretty quick. I've got a week-long trip a month from now at the end of May.
Is this one I'm going with you on?
No. A week after that, I have a weekend trip. And then within a couple weeks of that, I will probably have another 10-day trip. So it might be end of June before we regroup on this thing.
End of June? You gonna miss my birthday?
I can't make any promises. When's your birthday?
June 20th.
Don't know.
I mean, not that I have anything planned for it or anything.
We shall see.
Well, I'm going to try to get it done before, and I want to film. I'm going to try to film. I bought some things so I can film it.
Sure.
So I'm going to try to do it. Hopefully, it doesn't come out too goony, and so people might see mine before they see yours. So you might totally trump me on your ideas and everything. So don't like to do covers. But
I've promised a couple people covers, and I am behind by more than a year on those promises. Plus you, I know I owe you
that's
one.
like 4 or 5 years.
I'm telling you now, if you don't do it, I'm gonna berate you. So bad.
You're gonna dress me down.
The 5 people that watch us, they're gonna know that you're yellow. You're an egg-sucking dog. That's what you are. You egg-sucking dog. You better listen right here, brother. I'm coming. I'm coming with sketch covers. I'm coming with the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm going to bring it as hard as I've ever brought it. It's going to be hard.
That's what you say. It's been brought in.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Here's the crop right here.
I gotta go out to the store today. Then,
yeah,
I will accept your.
I don't think you can do it. I think you're gonna choke. You're a choke artist. You think you got this idea in your head. I can't do it. And just listen to yourself. Listen to that doubt that's eating your soul. You can just listen to it. Just roll over and do it. Just go ahead. Bye.
All right, man. We've gone 2 hours.
2 hours.
This might be the record-setting
yeah,
show
sorry, buddy.
For Captain America no more. Hopefully, it was worth it. If you didn't like it, you skipped ahead like I did through the storyline. Because I think
it's good. Shut up.
Yeah, Biggie's got one of the best ones I've ever done. Magic Lasso's got a good one too. Thanks, Biggie Shack, Magic Lasso, DC Miller for joining us. We had John's Comics with Kids before. Splash Page dipped in for a minute.
Gore was in for a minute.
Gore, our day one.
Gore Vidal was here at the very beginning.
Chicago Schultze,
yep.
Captain was there, wasn't he?
Captain Comics dipped in for a minute, yep.
Arr.
And we appreciate everybody that comes to watch us live or watches the rewinds of these shows. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit the like, share us out, tell everybody, tell the world, spread the word that we did an amazing 2-hour show about Captain America no more. And with that, we'll wrap this thing up. Remember, keep your priorities straight. Faith, family, comic books. See you next time. And it's going down next time.
Whenever there's a crime, who's always there to fight it? Whenever there's a wrong, who's always there to right it? When someone breaks the law, who do people holler for?